everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today is a very interesting tutorial idea because I definitely want to film a get ready with me, and I want you guys to go through the steps of just putting on some makeup with me today. But I debated about doing this, not gonna lie. I was really nervous because this is a very important subject for me and it's a very personal story for me. But I want to share this in hopes that any of you out there going through this, you know, can relate to it and maybe find some comfort in it, to say the least. So without any further ado, let's get into it. I will kind of show you guys products throughout the tutorial because I'm going to be mostly talking about the subject matter, but I will kind of like raise products up so you can see what I'm doing. So a brief little background about who I am. My name is Nicole, and I actually have a twin brother. His name is Nicholas, and we were born in the Bronx, New York, and I grew up there for quite a few years. I also have a younger brother, Michael, and we were just the trio growing up. We were inseparable. We all were the same age and in the same classes together. And after we lived in New York, we moved to New Jersey, and that's where I spent the majority of my years, just growing up and enjoying life, hating life, all the emotions in between. But New Jersey is really more of where I call home, even though I am a Bronx native. I love New York. New York is my heart, it's my soul. But New Jersey is where I really grew up and found myself, and I think went through the emotions and the roller coaster ride that ultimately prepares you for adulthood. So with that being said, yes, my brothers and I, we were all in the same grade, and interesting, we were not triplets. So Nick and I are twins by blood, born and raised, same birthday, all of that. We were born in April, and Michael is 8 months younger. And you think, how is that humanly possible? Well, that's because when I was very young, my parents informed us, they sat down with us and explained that we were adopted, Nick and I. So that's what this video is going to be focusing on, adoption, because as of, let's see, about a month ago, the inevitable happened, and I was able to locate my birth mother and my birth father. And it has been a roller coaster ride. It's been emotional, it's been trying, it's been wonderful, all in the same, but it's been emotional, to say the least. And the reason it's so emotional and impactful for me is because it was a closed adoption. So if any of you are out there and you're an adoptee and you know the adoption lingo and you've gone through this yourself, you know that a closed adoption is a private adoption. So basically, birth mom chose to have the adoption and did not want to release any information, or maybe released very limited information, so that the hopes that the child would ultimately grow up with a bit of normalcy. My whole thing about that too, and my adoption was done through the Catholic Home Bureau. So any of you that know or may not know, with the Catholics, everything is kept extremely private. They release very minimal information. They have what's called identifying and non-identifying. Identifying information being stuff that is very specific and exact, like birth dates, names, all that kind of stuff. And non-identifying meaning like more description like. So like birth mom was short, brown hair, Irish descent. I mean, very minimal information. So my parents kind of revisited the topic when I got older, and that's when the packet of information on my birth parents came about. Up until that point, my adoptive parents told us that they didn't know anything, they had no information. So you got to imagine, from like 7 to like 15, I'm thinking like I'm different, I'm not a part of this family, I am but I'm not. I fit in, but I don't, like, and I know it sounds crazy, especially if you haven't gone through this yourself, but when you're an adoptee, it's a feeling of like you belong, but you really don't. And it's not to hurt anybody's feelings. It's not to make it more of a deal out of it. I mean, it's really not, you guys. It's just, you'll know if you go through this, the feeling that you get of almost like abandonment. And even if your birth parents had all the good intentions when it came to it, you can't help that feeling that you have of just feeling like, you know, this is not the way it's supposed to be, you know. Why was I given up, ultimately? And I hate to say that term now, because as a mom myself, and after going through this whole experience, I look at things very differently. But when you're young and you're processing it, it's just a feeling of like somebody gave up on me, you know. And maybe that's not everybody. I don't want to generalize adoption or adoptees, because we're all different and we all have different stories. But that was how I felt. And then when I found out information, I didn't want to hurt my adoptive parents, but at the same time, I wanted them to know that I really want to find my birth parents. And it's my little guy. And most specifically, I want to find my birth mom. So I went on a journey at the age of like 15, trying to find them, trying to get information. So anyway, guys, as I was saying, I wanted to go on a journey and figure out who they were, and just see what I could ultimately find, because like I said, I had a closed adoption, so I didn't have much to go by, and I was very nervous to tell my parents that I wanted to find my birth parents, because the biggest fear is like you don't want to hurt the family that you have, but at the same time, as an adoptee, you have a God-given right to find out who you are and what your makeup is and where you come from ultimately. And that's my firm belief. And not everybody wants to find out. And with that being said, not everybody cares enough to find out. Some adoptees could care less. They accept it and they just go forward. I was not one of those people. I had to know, and I wanted to find out, and I wanted to know my medical background and things like that. All different things that led me to want to go on my journey. And when I was very young, my birth mother was my adoptive mother was very understanding, and she was like, you know, I'll help you as best as I can, and I just don't want you to be disappointed, because when you have such little information to go on, I didn't know why I was placed for adoption, what the cause was, how we were created and came about. Like, I don't know. And when you're so uninformed, you know, all these thoughts go through your head. Was I a product of something good? Was I a product of love? Was I a product of hate? Then there's the really scary ones. Was I a product of an assault? Am I going to be ashamed if I find these people? And, you know, you got to imagine, like, I'm 15 years old starting this journey. And one thing I can really say to you that maybe I didn't know at that age was to just prepare yourself and really ask yourself, am I ready for this? Am I going to be able to handle whatever the situation is and whatever the results are? And that's why I have to say this. I'm glad I didn't find my parents at that age, because at that time I had a lot of other things going on in my life. Some that were very difficult and hard. So I think had I found my parents when I was younger, I don't think I would have been able to handle it as well, or that maybe I just wouldn't have been able to process it as well. But anyway, with the journey, I had a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of like dead ends. We tried to go through a private investigator who refused to take on the case because he said that he wouldn't take it on in the best interest, I guess, of the birth mom, because some birth moms really don't want to be found. And, you know, they made their choice and they don't want to have to live with the answers. I mean, you hear all these horror stories, like, online, too. Like, I was found by my birth daughter and it ruined my life, or just, you know, crazy things. You always hear like the negativity and the bad stories about adoptions. You know, trust your instinct, trust your heart, and do it for you. And don't let people, you know, that want to slam doors in your face continue to slam doors. And also prepare yourself for the fact that, you know, if you are one of the few where, you know, they didn't want to be found, you need to know how to prepare yourself for that too. And that's why for many years I was unsuccessful. Also too, nowadays we have the internet and social media, but when I was coming up, the internet was not as advanced. You didn't have smartphones, you didn't have Facebook until much later. So the first few years of my search, when I was in my teens, I really didn't get anywhere, and I didn't get a lot of help. And 2004, 2005, I think, is when I discovered like Facebook and MySpace and all these different social media sites. So things were different then, and things started evolving and changing. So it was a little bit easier to plug in information and find stuff. So as I got older, I would say into my mid-20s, I kept looking and looking. I would search on, like I said, the social media sites, but just not come up with much because I didn't have much to go by. The only thing that I had on my non-identifying sheet, which is actually really identifying information, the Catholic Church somehow messed up and gave me my birth mom's birth date. So that was pretty crazy, because most people I've spoken to recently, and then within the last, you know, year of my search, most people that were through the Catholic churches or any type of like private adoption never had a birth date of any sort or something that they could identify them by. So all I had was just, like I said, my adoptive parents' information. My adoptive mom remembered a lot, especially what the social workers and caseworkers would tell her. So I think with the help of her information, I just kept a journal, guys. And that's really all I could say is keep a journal, write everything down, any type of information, contact the agencies, contact, you know, whoever could have been involved, whoever, you know, if you remember the area that you lived in at the time, if you remember where the birth parents were from, if there was any information of that sort, you know, try to remember everything and just jot it down, because ultimately that's what helped me. And by the way, I'm putting my sculpted face, the highlight powder all over just to prime my eyes. But anyway, in doing that, you know, it helps you to see the obstacles, at least in my situation, where my adoptive parents had to go through in order to adopt me. So it shows me ultimately how much they cared and how much they wanted to have us in their lives at that time, and you know, how much they went through ultimately. I'm going to take this color here from Juvia's Nubia or Saharan palette, excuse me, and put that all over with a fluffy brush. And that's going to go right in our crease. So this is so weird talking about such a crazy topic and doing my makeup, you guys, but I really wanted to just get this out and vent about it. And like I said, I was really hesitant to say it because there are other people involved in the situation, and I obviously want to be respectful and not hurt anybody, because it is a lot to go through. And this has been, like I said, surreal to me, but I am super, super proud of all the hard work and the fact that I was able to locate them. But within the last year and a half, there was a show, and I won't mention the network just in case it's a conflict for anything, but it was a reality show that helps adoptees to get in touch with their birth families. And I was able to discover the show because of a friend who was very much into the show. I had not heard of it. And she told me to check it out. And she said, you know, if it's something that you might be interested in, because she knew I was posting on Facebook a lot, trying to, you know, create pictures. And I know you guys see those pictures and the links that get shared a lot of, like, you know, this is my story, I'm trying to find my family. Well, that's what I was doing, constantly post. So I tried the show, and through the show I was able to, you know, apply for the show and go through different questionnaires, really get to know, like, you know, the ins and outs of DNA and genealogy. And unfortunately, we were not selected to be on the show. So the deal was that if you were not chosen for the show, you would still receive your DNA results and you could continue your search on your own. And obviously we were not chosen for the show, so we were able to receive our DNA results and continue on. All my life I grew up under the impression I was Italian because my adoptive parents were Italian, and that I was also Irish and Hungarian because that's what our little paragraph of information told us. But I didn't know the exact makeup. So Ancestry helped me to discover what my exact makeup was. And I was really pleasantly surprised. And to find out I was very little Italian, but very high with Irish and Hungarian and British and all sorts of things, and also Ecuadorian, which was another big one. So it was interesting to find that part out. The next step was to decide if whether or not I wanted to take it to the next step and actually make an account for myself. And at that point, you know, see if I could get a DNA match. So I chose to do it. I said, well, you know, you have to pay for it, unfortunately. But I said, let me just, you know, apply for it and do the membership. And if I don't like it, I can always cancel. If I don't come up with anything, I can always end up canceling the account. And so I did the application, I filled it out, I joined the, you know, Ancestry, and lo and behold, I had at least 3 or 4 really promising matches. So I reached out to him. I was shaking the whole time I was typing it because, you know, I was just so nervous and so afraid. And, you know, another big thing I was afraid of was, like, please don't get scammed. Please don't let anybody take advantage of my situation and pretend to be somebody that they're not. I mean, I said, let me just take a chance and go with it and see, you know, see what happens. And within a week, I would say, maybe a week and a half, I was continuing my search. I was sitting at my computer, and all of a sudden I got this message that popped up on Facebook. And I have it set to where if you find me on Facebook, you have to request to speak to me. Request came through, and I won't reveal any names, but it was a woman. And long story short, it basically said, you know, I think I might be able to help you find your birth father. And I mean, gosh, my stomach dropped. This heat wave came through me, you guys. It was so crazy. I was so afraid to read further. The first few words I saw, and then it was like, you know, please call me at this number. And I was terrified because I'm like, please don't be a scam. Please don't be somebody just trying to mess with me right now, because, you know, when you're searching that long and trying so hard to find answers, the last thing you want is like a broken promise or false information, or somebody that thinks they know you but really has no freaking clue. So I was shaking, and while I'm typing to this woman, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like on the verge of a panic attack, freaking out, so nervous. But, you know, worrying, like, do I give information? Do I not give information? Should I stay mum? Like, what should I do here ultimately? I just didn't know what to do. I mean, I'd never been in this situation before where I was this close. And I was terrified, but I continued talking and, you know, slowly sharing information because I didn't want to, like I said, give away too much at once. And yeah, things were matching up, and I was just, the goosebumps were like all over. This is real. This is really happening right now. This is her. This is my birth father. And more importantly, this is my half sister. So that was crazy. I knew there was possibly half siblings, but when you hear the word possibly, that's not definitely. So you grow up thinking and wondering, who could they be if they're there? Is this real? Are they really there? Do I really have half siblings? And this was just the reality that I did. And but to find these people that are your makeup, that are a part of you, your bloodline, is crazy, guys. It was really something. Our facts lined up and the stars aligned and everything was meant to be, but for many months and many years, it never felt like it was ever going to be meant to be. So don't give up, guys. You know, I just really, if you have that hope in this, if this is something that really means a lot to you, just forge on, forge through, and don't give up. So I'm going to take this dark brown right now, guys, on a small kind of like buffing detail brush and just run that on my lower lash line. It is my Morphe 441, and we're just going to go in with that Morocco orange now and really kind of smoke the darker colors out and give this shadow a bit of like a wing. And I like to, when I work on my lower lash line, I like to start with my darkest color first and then build it to a softer, lighter color so that this way it really smokes it out real pretty and just blends, you know, everything together. But yeah, so anyway, the last few weeks now have been a process of getting to know birth family, and also use any kind of information regarding my situation to find my birth mom, since I found one, but I still don't have the other. So it's like, you know, even though you've come so far and you found out so much information, it's like I still had to find out information about my birth mom. I was still turning up nowhere. I was using my Ancestry account trying to find her. Most of the links, unfortunately, on my Ancestry were linked to my birth father's family. So it's fortunate and unfortunate, because it's fortunate in that I am learning more and more about some of the different people that are within my birth father's family, but unfortunate in the sense that I'm not getting anywhere with my birth mother. So I was a bit discouraged again, even though I had come so far and was really fortunate to have found my birth father, but I still had this longing to find out more. And for some people, it's like, that's enough for me. I'm just going to stop there and, you know, I'm okay with things now. But for me, I've never been one to ever feel like fully satisfied. So I had to keep looking. I'm going to take my L'Oreal Pro Matte Powder and an angled brush and start applying my powder on top of my translucent powder, avoiding my areas of my face that I want to brighten. So we're going to use a lighter color to brighten up under our eyes and so forth. Through the help of my half-sister and some of her information, I was able to get my birth mother's name and also where she grew up and where she went to school. She didn't know much about her whereabouts or what her married name could be, if she was remarried, if she was even on Facebook. The actual story of what happened I will save for a later date, because it's a very sensitive subject for me still and for my family, and I don't want to hurt or offend anybody. But this is really just more about the concept of being adopted and how to go about finding your information and your family. so I won't get too personal with it. But through her help, I was able to get information together, and then I found this amazing group on Facebook, and I believe it's called Search and Reunion. But anyway, I was like really skeptical about going onto the group and trusting these people, because again, you don't know what's out there. Social media is a wonderful tool, but it can be a scary tool all the same. So I took a chance. I shared my information, and within, I would say, a few hours, and this was late at night when I was accepted into the group and posting everything, within a few hours, they were able to locate my birth mom. And I nearly flipped. And the most amazing part about it was that she was on Facebook the whole time. I was searching and looking for things and trying things. Even after I found her name, I was trying my best to find her and do different things. And I was just turning up empty-handed. And lo and behold, there she was on Facebook. And also came to find out that I had a half-brother with my mom and 3 more half-sisters. So it really was a lot. It was shocking. It's hard enough being like, okay, I found my birth mom, but then to find all of these siblings. And of course, you know, everybody's on Facebook now. So like I said, the last few weeks have just been crazy, trying to process everything, trying to just get through everything ultimately, and it has been. It's a lot to take on, but I am truly grateful for everything, and amazed all the same. I really am amazed that I was able to get the help I did and get the answers I did. It's just been amazing getting to know different people, getting to know their story, getting to know different sides. It's overwhelming. So don't think for a second it's easy, because it's definitely not easy. But it's really been amazing, even though it's been a little bit difficult too. So real quick, guys, I haven't done my lid color yet. I know we went in and did some powder. I'm going to take just a flat brush. This is a Sephora travel brush, but this is a flat synthetic brush. We're going to wet this down and apply the color Sheba from the Nubian 2 palette, and also the color Senegal from the Saharan palette from Juvia's. And we're going to place those onto our eyelid and just give it a really kind of frosted but smoky look. So I'm going to take the darker color Sheba first and apply that on the outside of the lid and just press it into the lid space. But I'm going to finish off the rest of my face and my eyes, and then we'll pick out a lip color together and kind of close this whole get ready with me discussion of just adoption and being an adoptee and finding your birth parents. I hope I haven't bored you guys. I know this is a pretty intense topic, but I wanted to lighten up by doing makeup with it today. But it's really important to share, and I hope you guys, you know, continue to follow me on my journey, and I would love to, you know, be able to film another video really more in depth, or maybe just. So I am back. I have put on the rest of my eye makeup and my face makeup. I'm going to take my dual-ended e.l.f. concealer, and I love this to white out my lips. I'm a big fan of concealer on my lips before I do my lip products. I know it looks crazy, but I like it because it gives me more of the true lip color. So I'm going to go in with NYX brown lip liner today, and then we're going to put a little pop of Warm Me Up from Maybelline, and this is just a really pretty pinky beige nude, but we're going to deepen it and intensify it with the brown. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so this is the finished look. I know this video has probably been like all over the place as far as what I've been talking about today, but really quickly to recap the makeup, I used my Juvia's Place Saharan palette and Nubian 2 palette for the eye makeup look today, and also for sculpting and contouring, again, my IT Cosmetics, my sculpted face, and we tried out some new products today. LA Girl. I really love this concealer so far, the Pro Concealer in Light Ivory. It really blended nicely into my makeup routine. I like the way that it's set so far. I like the amount of coverage. So all I'm going to really see is how long it wears and how well it holds up. But awesome. Again, the LA Girl Fine Line Liquid Concealer, liquid eyeliner. This is a felt tip eyeliner. It's extremely fine point. I really like the application, just how it glides on super easily. The actual color and intensity is wonderful and just super, super good. Really impressed. And also the price point, you guys, $4.99, $5.99. I mean, you can't go wrong. I picked these up at Ulta. So if you have an Ulta near you, go check out LA. I hope you enjoyed the makeup portion of this tutorial. And if you have any questions, I will link information down below. And also, if you like the look, I can do a more in-depth tutorial of it. So just let me know what you think. And to close out the story as far as our adoption story or my adoption story, I just basically want to tell you guys that this video isn't to make anybody feel bad who's going along the journey and maybe struggling to find their family. This isn't meant to represent my family in any negative way. I just want to make that really clear, because one of my biggest concerns was if I would be hurting my adoptive family along my journey, what my family would think or say about it. I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. I had my adoptive parents' blessings the whole ride, which has been wonderful, and also my fiance's support. He's been just my rock through everything. The anxiety, the countless sleepless nights, the tears, the questions, the fears, everything. So huge shout out to my partner. I think it always helps when you have a really good support system. But don't give up your hope, guys. Reach out to people, try the search angels, try different groups on Facebook, reach out to anybody that you know that may have influenced the adoption or been a part of it, if you really are, you know, truthfully seeking your birth parents. If you're not and you're an adoptee and you have no desire, don't feel guilty, because that's your right and your choice. But if you are searching and you want to know who they are, don't feel guilty either, because again, that's your birthright and your choice. And I feel like we deserve to know who we are and where we come from, regardless of whether we want to pursue relationships with those people or not. So if I can help you in any way, please reach out to me. I will try to answer your questions. And don't give up hope, guys. Ultimately, that's what this is about. I hope that you enjoyed coming along my journey here and listening to my story. And if you do have questions, and I find a lot of people reach out, I'm thinking about possibly filming another video to answer the questions live for you guys. So that's an option too. So let me know, give me some feedback. Again, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and this tutorial. Give me a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys again really soon.